New Year must mean it's time for the return of the Retro Review. Hello guys, I am Wrestling Man, and this is the series where I review Coliseum home videos for you, the viewing audience. And at the end, I hope to convince you to either try and find the videotape or to just skip it. Of course, these videos aren't sold in stores anymore, obviously. You can find them on eBay, Amazon, pretty much wherever people sell Coliseum videotapes. Now, for this first one of the year, this first review right here, actually had a close race. Came down to 2 videos, so, as the rules state, in the event of a tie, I get to make the final decision. I know, what a great way to start off. The guy who hosts it makes the final decision in what video gets reviewed. So, this one was actually sort of a no-brainer for a pick for 2 reasons. Number one, if I did not pick this video, I'm sure there would be somebody who's been voting for this video constantly for a long time would just continue to, I guess, vent his anger would be the right way to put it. And number 2, it's a very interesting video. It's not one that you really will see anywhere. It's one that, to be perfectly honest with you folks, I don't think anybody could get away with the style of this production. The video today, the WWF's Grand Slams. You see? It is a compilation of the best of the best. The very best moments of the World Wrestling Federation through basically an almost 10-year period at this point in WWE history. Now, the host of this videotape is Mean Gene Okerlund, and there are some very obvious moments that get picked to be put on this tape. Some that are a little bit interesting, and some you wonder why they weren't on it. Well, without any further delay, let's take a look at the WWF's Grand Slams. Our first piece of footage starts off at the Wrestling Classic, where the Dynamite Kid takes on Nikolai Volkov. And what I mean by takes on Nikolai Volkov, I mean beats him with one move. After Nikolai Volkov sang the Russian national anthem, and complaining to the audience in the arena, Dynamite Kid went up to the top rope, hit a drop kick, got the 3 count, and the victory over Nikolai Volkov. Our next piece of footage comes from a very grueling Intercontinental title match inside the steel cage, the closing moments of a bout between Greg the Hammer Valentine and Tito Santana. They show you the ending of this bout because it's the most dramatic part and probably one of the best endings to a steel cage match you'll ever see. Tito Santana comes out on top, but Greg the Hammer Valentine, well, he leaves a sore loser as he breaks the Intercontinental title. Now we go to one of the biggest wrestling and one of the most important wrestling events of all time, WrestleMania. The match in particular that we get is King Kong Bundy against S.D. Jones. The reason for this is because at the time this was the world record for the quickest match in the history of wrestling, as King Kong Bundy defeated S.D. Jones in 9 seconds. Now, obviously, this record would be broken many, many years down the line, but it is a way to get a monster like King Kong Bundy involved. Then we go on a little bit of an adventure. Roddy Piper on the set of the A-Team as he tries to, well, antagonize Mr. T, get under his skin a little bit, if you will. And it gets to the point where Mr. T is about ready to fight Roddy Piper, but somebody has to hold him, and we all know what would happen with Piper and Mr. T in '85 and in '86. Next comes what I call the original Screwjob. Wendy Richter defending her women's title against the Spider Lady. But the end of the match is very controversial because Spider Lady gets a pin on Richter, but Richter gets her arms up and the referee counts 3 very quick. In the end, we find out that the Spider Lady was the Fabulous Moolah. So Fabulous Moolah leaves the women's champion. Now we go to the TNT show, and we get to see Freddie Blassie along with Friday and the Chicken. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to one of my earlier reviews where I reviewed bloopers, bleeps, and body slams. So we get to see Kamala, well, attempt to eat the chicken. And thankfully there was no bloodshed. Next up, for the fun laughters, it's clips from a midgets match. The Haiti Kid against Dana Carpenter. The reason that this is a very funny clip, very interesting choice here, is because of the referee, Gilberto Roman, who was just about the same size, just a little bit taller almost, than the Haiti Kid and Dana Carpenter, and he really was just about the same size, if not a little bit taller, than the midgets back in the day. Then we have a special series on controversial title changes. Starts off with the Iron Sheik winning the World Wrestling Federation title against Bob Backlund in Madison Square Garden. Now the reason that it's controversial is because of the manager, Arnold Skaaland, throwing the towel in for Bob Backlund, even though he knew Backlund would never give up. Next, we go to a tag team title defense. Tony Garea and Rick Martel against Mr. Fuji and Mr. Saito. This match has a controversial ending as Mr. Fuji throws salt in the eyes of Rick Martel, blinding him long enough for Mr. Saito to get the 3 count and the win. Then we go to another tag team title defense, this time the Wild Samoans. They defended the belts against Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson. This one was a no disqualification match. So I'm sure you're wondering, why is this a controversial title change? Well, to be honest, I sort of had that thought too, but it's not the match, it's how the match ends. When Captain Lou Albano accidentally hits one of the Samoans over the head with a wooden chair, not only causing them to lose the belts, but also causing the Samoan to bleed. And then we go to, another tag team title match from WrestleMania. Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo against Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik. Now, the reason that this is controversial is how the match ends, when the Iron Sheik had the cane of Freddie Blassie hitting Barry Windham behind his head with the cane, knocking him out with the 3 count and the victory. And then, as they get to the back, Mean Gene Okerlund asks Freddie Blassie what happened to the cane, and he says, I didn't have no cane. And for the final part of this series of controversial title changes, we go to the Boston Garden. Tito Santana defending the Intercontinental title against Macho Man Randy Savage. We get to see the final moments of this match as Savage pulls a pair of appears to be brass knucks, hits Santana over the head with it despite the referee not seeing it. 3 count, Randy Savage, the new Intercontinental Champion. Then we get a little look at a man that is well respected, Terry Funk. But back in the day, he was one of the most hated heels in all of the World Wrestling Federation. We get to see his debut where he goes after the poor ring attendant, Mel Phillips. Why? Because Phillips put on the hat of Terry Funk while Funk was getting ready, which made him very irate, very upset, and thus had him going crazy. And then we go to highlights of WrestleMania 2 with a tag team match. Terry and Dory Funk Jr., then known as Hoss Funk, going up against Tito Santana and the Junkyard Dog. We get to see a couple minutes of this match, including the ending, when Terry Funk hit the Junkyard Dog with the megaphone over the head to get the 3 count and the victory. Next up, an arm wrestling challenge between Jesse the Body Ventura and the Polish Power, Ivan Putski. Now, for those of you that have never seen this arm wrestling match, it's very well done. The setup is this. Jesse Ventura sets up, he's about ready to do the match, and then he pulls away. He's about ready to do it again, and he pulls away. This time Ventura is ready, but then Putski moves out of the way, and that makes Ventura irate. Now, unfortunately, in this clip, you don't get to see the entire arm wrestling match, because I felt it was entertaining. But you do get to see, again, the final moments of the arm wrestling match where Ventura pulls Putski on the table and starts attacking him, leaving him out cold in the ring. Then we go to the one and the only Andre the Giant. In this clip, we see him in a 3-on-1 handicap match against most notably Johnny Rodz and his two partners, Joe Nova and Jack Evans. No, not the high-flying white rapper Jack Evans. It's a different Jack Evans. But we get to see why Andre the Giant truly was the 8th wonder of the world in this 3-on-1 handicap match. And then we have a special series on the one and only Gorilla Monsoon. We start off with a clip where he was the guest referee for a title match between Bruno Sammartino and superstar Billy Graham, where Monsoon explained why he did the things that he did in the match, including checking out Bruno Sammartino if he could continue the match with the blood coming down, and why he went after Billy Graham when Billy Graham was trying to leave the ring. Next, we go to actually one of the more funnier moments in the history of wrestling, Andre the Giant and Gorilla Monsoon in a boxing match. This took place in Puerto Rico, and this was a fun match because the boxing match happened after a rainstorm took place. Of course, this wasn't your typical boxing match, considering that the two competitors weighed over 800 pounds, and it was in Puerto Rico. But Andre the Giant did get the win in the boxing match. Finally, in this segment on Gorilla Monsoon, we see him dealing with Muhammad Ali after his match against Baron Mikel Cicluna, in which Monsoon won via countout. Muhammad Ali decided he wanted a piece of the gorilla. But he made one mistake. He went and he pointed his finger at Monsoon, which would be the last move he would make, because Monsoon would end up giving him an airplane spin, one that Ali probably would regret. After that moment, Gorilla Monsoon explained to Vince McMahon how Muhammad Ali doesn't know the difference between a wrist lock and a wrist watch, and that if he had been in the ring another minute, he would have finished him. Monsoon finishes it off by saying, Ali is a great boxer, but a terrible wrestler. We then go into one of the most historic moments in the world of wrestling. Actually, a couple of days ago was the 29th anniversary of this moment in wrestling history. The Iron Sheik defending the WWF title against Hulk Hogan. We go into the final couple of moments of this match, where the Iron Sheik locks in the camel clutch, Hogan goes backwards and hits the turnbuckle, and then finishes Sheik off with the leg drop to get the 3 count in the victory, and thus Hulkamania began that day. Speaking of Hulk Hogan, he goes into a tag team match with the most unusual of partners, Mean Gene Okerlund, as they face George the Animal Steele and Mr. Fuji. Now we get to see the last couple of minutes of this match as Mr. Fuji once again pulls some salt out, but he gets thwarted by Mean Gene Okerlund as Fuji throws salt in the eyes of himself instead of Hogan. And then Gene Okerlund with the hot tag, he and Hogan hit a big boot, and then Okerlund gets thrown on the Fuji. Hogan holds Okerlund down to get the 3 count, and Hulk Hogan and Gene Okerlund get the win. Quick note, Mean Gene Okerlund has never lost a match whenever he's wrestled. Now we go to a very interesting event, and one that a lot of people have been asking me to review, and trust me folks, I will review this event in the near future. The big event. We only get one clip of this, which is very interesting. And the match that they choose, the Killer Bees against Jimmy Jack and Hoss Funk. It's very odd that they would pick this match out of all the other matches that happened, but I guess you had to pick one that wasn't a big match, but it was a match that was on the card. And this match is important for the fact that the Killer Bees put on those famed masks to confuse the competitors, and they did end up beating the Funks. And then we get another series, this time on Battle Royals. We look at 3 Battle Royals in particular. The first one is a Battle Royal that took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the early 1980s and is on the Best of the WWF Volume 4. This is actually one of the better Battle Royals that you'll ever see. Not because of an all-star roster that they have, but how this Battle Royal goes. In the end, it comes down to Tony Atlas and S.D. Jones. Neither man wants to fight. They're both best friends. So the only way that they can determine who wins this Battle Royal is by the flip of a coin. No, you're not hearing me wrong. The flip of a coin. Tony Atlas won the coin toss, thus won the Battle Royal, and military pressed S.D. Jones all the way over the top onto the apron, thus Tony Atlas wins. Then we take a look at what I consider to be the most famous Battle Royal in the history of wrestling. The Battle Royal from WrestleMania 2 with the NFL stars and the stars of the WWF. We go deep into the Battle Royal where Big John Studd just eliminated Bruno Sammartino, and William the Refrigerator Perry starts making a charge. He knocks both Hart Foundation over the top, but did not hit the floor. Then we get the confrontation that everybody wanted. Big John Studd against William Perry. Perry goes for a shoulder tackle, doesn't move Studd. He goes for it again, moves him a little bit. Goes for it a third time, Studd gets him in the knee, in the gut with the knee, and then dumps him over the top rope onto the floor. However, William Perry would get revenge at the end. When he went to shake hands with Big John Studd, he pulled Studd over the top rope and onto the floor. And then we see the conclusion of the Battle Royal where Andre the Giant kicks Jim the Anvil Neidhart over the top rope onto the floor and then catches Bret Hart as he attempts to make a move on the top rope and throws him on the Jim the Anvil Neidhart and wins the Battle Royal. To conclude the segment on the Battle Royal, we go to Madison Square Garden in the summer of 1986, a 22-man Battle Royal where the winning purse is $50,000. Now, one participant to keep your eye out is Jimmy Hart. Why? Well, because during this match, pretty much throughout the duration of the match, Jimmy Hart hides under the ring. However, when it comes down to what we think was the final 2 men, the Junkyard Dog and Greg the Hammer Valentine, JYD gets thrown through the middle rope onto the floor. However, he catches Jimmy Hart going back under the ring and pulls him back in. And then a very confusing ending as Junkyard Dog and Greg the Hammer Valentine both go over the top rope. Valentine goes on the floor, and this is actually funny, this part. Junkyard Dog goes over the top, but he sits on the apron and then pushes himself off the apron onto the floor for Jimmy Hart to win the Battle Royal. Then we go to 2 moments that Andre the Giant, I'm sure, loved to the day he died. First off, a match against Killer Khan in a stretcher match. Now, while today's version of the stretcher match is completely different from the one back in the 1980s, this is still a brutal match. You had to knock your opponent, completely out and then had to put him on a stretcher and somebody would pull him away. Well, Andre the Giant would knock Killer Khan completely unconscious and putting him on the stretcher, thus winning the Battle Royal. And then we go to WrestleMania. Andre the Giant against Big John Studd in the Body Slam Challenge. And we all know the famous scene. Andre the Giant picks up Big John Studd and dumps him for a body slam, winning the match and $15,000 in cash, throwing that money into the crowd before Bobby Heenan could get the bag back. And then we look at a very interesting interview segment with Vince McMahon and the Grand Wizard of Wrestling. In this, Grand Wizard mocks Vince McMahon in many different ways. For example, the fact that he got some type of an award and that he needs his eyes checked. This is a very fun segment and one that you should definitely check out if you can ever find clips of Grand Wizard promos. He was a very good promo guy, very good manager. Speaking of managers, we go to the award presentation of Manager of the Year. Bobby the Brain Heenan thinks he's won the award, but after Mean Gene Okerlund tells Hillbilly Jim how many votes he got and how many votes Captain Lou got, Hillbilly Jim decided to give all of his votes to Captain Lou Albano, making Lou Albano the Manager of the Year. And then Bobby Heenan hits Lou Albano from behind with the trophy and breaks the trophy while Big John Studd and King Kong Bundy go after Hillbilly Jim. And then finally, to conclude the tape, Jimmy Snuka and Don Muraco, the steel cage match. Now we catch up at the end when Muraco wins the match, but it's after the match that we all remember still to this day. Jimmy Snuka bringing Muraco back into the cage, body slamming him, and then attempts to do the Superfly leap off the top rope, but then has a change of heart and decides to go to the top of the cage and jumps off the top of the cage, landing on Don Muraco. And that is the WWF's Grand Slams. So, what did I think of this tape? Well, like I said, this is the type of video that really WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, basically any promotion really will not do anymore, for the fact that you're taking clips from previous releases and putting them all together into one videotape. Now, like I said, there are a couple of weird things. Like, for example, of all the matches that you choose from the Wrestling Classic, you pick the one that was the shortest. And for the big event, of all the matches that you pick the opening match. You could have picked some other matches. Also, for WrestleMania, you don't even have the big match, the match that really brought everybody to the Garden, Hulk Hogan and Mr. T against Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. And that's another thing. We only get to see Roddy Piper on this videotape once. Meanwhile, other individuals like Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant get many appearances. But Roddy Piper, in that time frame, did a lot for the WWF and should have appeared more on this videotape. And finally, I just want to say that this videotape really paced out really good. You don't get to see all of the clips. You get to see like 2.5 minutes worth of each clip. So you wouldn't see the entire Greg Valentine Tito Santana match, or you wouldn't get to see the entire Bob Backlund Iron Sheik match. You get clips of it to make the customer want to buy the videotape from where it came from. That, I think, is the best part of this videotape, is the fact that, hey, the only way you can see the entire match is if you buy one of these videotapes. So all in all, I have to say, despite the fact that they didn't use a lot of clips, and more important clips, from WrestleMania, the Wrestling Classic, WrestleMania 2, or the big event, this is still a good videotape, and I really would recommend it to anybody that wants to see wrestling history, and mainly what the WWF went through in that 10-year period from the mid-70s to the mid-80s. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this edition of Wrestling Man's Retro Review. Please check back in a couple of weeks to where you can pick the next Retro Review. So long, everybody.